So if you're just starting out in photography and someone comes up to you and says, "What's your f-stop?" or your t-stop? Do you know what they're saying? What if they say, "Set your camera to 1 over your focal length"? Or what if they say, "There's a lot of atmospheric lensing at this location"? Do you know what any of that means? Well, in today's video, we're going to break down these photography terms and tell you what they really mean in layman's terms, and stick to the end of the video because we're going to talk about the biggest misconception with new photographers. So let's start with focal length. What exactly does it mean when someone says it's 1 over your shutter speed? When you're shooting handheld, your shutter speed should be at least 1 divided by your focal length. And the reason why you're doing this is to stop any motion blur. It's not a perfect rule, but it's kind of a good starting point. So if you're shooting on a 50mm lens, you'll want to set your shutter speed to 1/50th. If you're on a 100mm lens, you want 1 over 100. If you're on 200mm, 1 over 200. Like I said, this isn't perfect, but it's a good starting point to minimize the jitter and the shakiness so you don't get a blurry photo when you're out shooting. Now, what is it when someone says f-stop? Basically, f-stop is the size of the aperture inside your lens. So if you're shooting at f1.8, generally your aperture is wide open. If you're shooting at f8 or f11, the aperture closes down. The aperture generally controls sharpness, brightness, and depth of field. A wide open aperture at f1.8 lets a ton of light in, but if you close it down, let's just say to f8 or f11, you're getting less light, but more is in focus. Just think of your f-stop as how much light is being let into your camera. Now, when someone says t-stop, well, that's basically your f-stop. It's more for cinema lenses though. F-stop is photography, t-stop is cinema. Although t-stops are a little bit more accurate, a t-stop is measured transmission of light. But if you're just into photography, you won't really hear too much about t-stops. Now, ISO. ISO is a big one. Basically, it's artificial light. It's like a gain knob on a guitar amp, and it basically amplifies the signal of your sensor. So if you're in a place where you need more light, but your camera's just, the image is still dark, if you dial up your ISO, you're basically tuning your sensor to be more sensitive to light. The downside of doing this, where you crank up your ISO, is you'll start to get noise introduced in your image. It'll start to look a little bit grainy and fuzzy, but it's kind of necessary in certain situations, and newer cameras have gotten really good at handling noise, so it's become a little bit easier and a little bit less taboo to bump up your ISO, but a general good rule is keep it as low as possible until you need it. If you start to feel like you need more light, then you can start bumping it up. White balance is color temperature. Basically, it's telling your camera what white should look like. You know when you go inside and you start to take pictures and everything looks super orange? Well, that's because the lights in your ceiling give off an orangey glow, and then you'll want to adapt to that using your white balance to tell your camera what pure white should look like, or close to it. If the colors are looking off in your photos, it's probably due to the white balance. But again, newer cameras, they handle white balance really well when you set it to auto, so you generally don't have this issue as much as you would with other cameras 10 years ago. Atmospheric lensing. It sounds daunting and complicated, but it's really not. It's just the distance of atmosphere between you and the subject. So if you're shooting on a hot day or it's muggy and you get all that haze in the distance where you're looking and everything seems wavy, that's atmospheric lensing. So if you want to take a picture of something really far away and you take the shot and it looks kind of blurry, it's probably because it's too hot out, or it's too muggy. You can combat this in Lightroom and other programs by adding dehaze to your photos, but generally shoot early in the morning or after a rainfall and you won't get as much atmospheric lensing. Depth of field. Depth of field is basically how blurry the background is. So if you're shooting at f1.8, I would be sharp, but the background behind me would be blurry. If you go up to f11, the background behind me will be sharp and I'll be sharp. This comes in handy when you want to shoot something like a portrait, where you want the nice blurry background, everything looks beautiful, and you just want them to be in focus. you'd set your aperture to like f1.8 just to get that perfect glow. But if you're shooting a big open landscape, you don't want to be shooting like that. You want to be shooting at f11 or whatever the sweet spot on your lens is. That way you can get everything from the foreground to the background pin sharp. RAW versus JPEG. Everyone deals with JPEGs. We dealt with them for years, but RAW is the entire sensor's data put into one file. It's a big file, but everything is completely unprocessed. You want this because you can bring out more colors, you can bring out more detail. With a JPEG, it's processed, it's already done. All the colors are there, the contrast is there. You can't really edit them too much because you'll start to destroy the image, but with a RAW, you don't have that issue. The upside to JPEG is it's a much smaller image. If you just want to take the photo, put it on your computer and be done with it, JPEGs are perfectly fine for that. If you want to edit your photo and bring out as much detail as possible, you'll want RAW, but the issue with RAW is if you don't have a software that can edit RAW photos, you're kind of out of luck. So you got to get something like Lightroom to basically open these photos and edit these photos. Then you can export them in JPEGs for social media and whatnot. Now here is the big misconception when you're first starting out in photography. Gear doesn't matter as much as you think it does. A $500 camera held by someone who knows shutter speed, knows composition, knows how to use that camera will be leagues better than a $3,000 camera in the hands of somebody who knows nothing about photography. The camera does not make the photographer at all. So if you're thinking you need to drop thousands of dollars on a brand new camera because you think you're not going to get the best photos, well, you're wrong. A camera from 5-10 years ago that your cousin gave you, that's fine. Use that. Start out on that. Take as many photos as you want. Take as many photos as you need to learn, keep going, keep building, and then eventually, when you finally have your skills tuned, then you can consider buying the more expensive camera with all the bells and whistles. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you'll come back here if you ever forget something or you want a little bit of a refresher. And if it did help you, like and subscribe. I'd love to see you guys back here hanging out in another video. Now, go watch this stuff if you're interested in my photography, and that's all I got for you. I hope you guys have a good one. Peace.